I haven't had to start a car with a choke in about 20 years.
It's not every day you get a text asking what you're up to and do you fancy moving an old car for me? I had to think long and hard before going, yeah, I could do that. So this is the Wolseley I was asked to take out to How Many Left at the Grampian Transport Museum. So a few of us met up, we were given our cars, and it was my task to get this out to Afford in one piece. So like I said, the show's called How Many Left? And it started off in 2015 as a celebration of cars with something like less than 250 models remaining. And the story behind it was actually quite funny. We had a guy called Callum who wrote to us and asked if we wouldn't mind showing his Austin Allegro at the Transport Museum. Now, with the best will in the world, I don't know many people who would pay good money to go and see an Austin Allegro, but we thought, you know what? It's somebody's pride and joy, and you don't see them very often these days, so why not? So we decided to come up with this show. We called it How Many Left, based on the car website, the same name. You put in your registration and it tells you how many models of your car are left. So we came up with this idea for the show, and to kind of give it a bit of structure, we put in things like an auto test, we put in passenger rides, and we created what we called a rarity index. So if you look at the total number of models made, say for example a Ford Fiesta, millions and millions of them made, how many of any given model are left on the road? And if the answer was less than 250, that was it, you could get into the show. So we had to be out there pretty early because there was a few cars parking up together and the gates opened to the public at 11 o'clock. So we got out nice and sharp. The weather for once was on side. And I'll tell you what, it wasn't half interesting watching the loading to the event as everyone turned up. I think in total there was something like 100 odd cars there. My dad had one of these Cavaliers. Didn't have the teddy bear on it, but he definitely had a Cavalier, which died a horrible death. These guys have been coming since day one.
I love the shape of the mouse. Anything that's square.
Now on the subject of square, loved the old Renault 5. Took a few of us a minute to work out what the auto union was. Don't see many of them, that's for sure. Now, I must admit I geeked out when this Mercedes van came in about. Not least of all because of the wee model on the dashboard.
Tell us, please.
This was the very first car I ever learned to drive in, an old Citroën ZX. My aunt bought one of them from Duthie's of Montrose. Now part of the show this year was celebrating 50 years of the Volkswagen Golf. Not particularly rare, but it felt right to celebrate that, and the MR2s, or as my pal Mark and I called them, the Mr. 2s. Now I mentioned that the show used to consist of things like an auto test. In recent years that's been more and more difficult to put on for insurance reasons, but what they did is a Specsavers pointless test. So you had to start from the cones, work out how far inward you wanted those white boards. You had to drive through the space in between without clipping the guys holding them, pass the cyclist at a safe distance, park at the side of the road, and then park nose in towards the cone without hitting it. I mean, it seems pretty pointless, but pretty easy at the same time. Or was it?
It's just within the car, isn't it? Oh my goodness. Look at that!
He doesn't have wind mirrors.
Right, that's the judgment. touch it, and you get maximum score. Isn't this interesting? Stop when you think you're at the place you want to be. Look at that. What have we got there? Are we in the red? We're in the red, that's 50. We're in the yellow on this. Let's have a general, shall we? Okay, then that's 75 points. Right, okay, let's see. That'll do. Oh, too close. And you've just broken the law. Park it next to the curb and don't squash the curb, please. This is brilliant. Well done.
This is like Chuck Norris driving. It's a bit cheaty, to be fair.
Right, I think we'll give him that. Do we need to measure? Right. Bring it up to here and don't destroy it. Look, it's high enough for that as well. What do you think, folks? Brilliant. Just prove the point, he's in the green. 0 points again. That's the bike. 1.5 metres.
Up next came the Trottermobile from Fools and Horses. This is owned by a guy called Lewis, who must be a glutton for punishment because he's got loads of these old three-wheelers. I can't imagine the drive out to Afford and this would have been particularly fun. Would have been an interesting drive out, that's for sure.
Oh, this is a good one, isn't it? Del boy was a wide boy, wasn't he? Oh, what a terrible joke. Alright, here we go. Oh dear, you see, you should have stopped at your mirrors the driver's point. I'm afraid that's 100 points. Now, can you go past the bike without knocking him off, please? 1.5 metres from the bike. Stop. This looks good. Oh no, this is foot short. Can you believe that?
You long cat.
1.5 metres, isn't it? It's a good thing for them. That's 100 points. How are we doing? This looks like a decent effort. Okay, let's have a look. It should be spot on green there. Look at that, green, 0 points. Well done. Close as you like without knocking it over. That's it, okay? Oh, that's a shame. 100 points. It's not as long as you thought. Never given this before. Thank you very much indeed.
So with the little auto test out of the way, it was back round to looking at the old cars. There were one or two that seemed kind of weird to think of as being endangered. But then things like Vauxhall Vectras, you don't see them very often.
This is one of the ones that talked to you about, but it's probably the beginning of Nag now.
Tax disc from 1993.
You know, what by the standards of the day was reasonably.
The old C6 looks like something from the space age. Now the thing I love about going to old car shows, the public car parks are usually just as interesting as the actual shows themselves.
Please,
Anyway, before too long, it was time to try and remember how to start a car with a choke and head back into town. that because the car had been on show and the owner had popped the bonnet to let people have a look at the engine bay, I got a little bit nervous on the drive back into town. It didn't quite look as if the bonnet was entirely shut, so I thought better safe than sorry. And I think I gave everyone in our convoy a little bit of the fear. But there we go, first car show of the season done and dusted. Thanks as always for watching. If you haven't done, if you want to consider subscribing to the channel, that'd be amazing. And let me know in the comment section below which of the cars that you saw there was your favourite. Maybe one that was your first car, maybe one your parents had. I named quite a few that I enjoyed. Let me know your favourite below and I'll catch you in the next video.